Hit it.
Detroit, it's time to make your voice heard.
Hello, Detroit. I'm Janice Winfrey, your city clerk, reminding you that a very important municipal primary is happening Tuesday, August 5th, and your vote matters more than ever. And guess what? You've got 3 easy ways to vote. Vote by absentee ballot right from your home. And starting July 26th through August 3rd, you can vote early at any early vote center. Or vote in person on Election Day, August 5th at your polling place. It's safe, it's easy, and it's your right. However you choose to cast your ballot, just make sure your voice is heard. Every vote counts when it comes to Detroit's future. Your streets, your safety, and your city services are all on the ballot. Scan this code or visit us online to learn more. Let's show up, Detroit, loud, proud, and ready to vote.
Detroit votes August 5th. Your city, your future, your vote.
All right. Welcome to another edition, I guess you'd call it, of The Week That Was. I'm Nancy Derringer, sitting in for Saeed Khan, who is our much more capable host. And I'm warning you right now that I'm feeling a little under the weather today. So if I suddenly go and bolt out of the frame, just Alan's going to take over for me, and don't worry about it. But anyway, here we are, the rump fraction of The Week That Was, or of Deadline Detroit, doing our Week That Was show because we just can't quit it. We have so much fun. Glad you could join us. Let's go around the horn and meet the panel. It's the usual suspects again. We have to my left, labor and community activist Barb Ingalls. We have public relations specialist Beverly Watts. Coming around the corner, attorney Joel Sklar, one of our troika of lawyers, Allan Lengel, co-founder of Deadline Detroit, and the second of the troika of lawyers, Bill Seikaly. How's everybody? Get a bag, Nancy. We won't touch you.
He doesn't speak for all of us, Nance.
Anxiety. You know what happened? I'm usually a very healthy person, but it wasn't working today. So anyway, all right. Hello there. Let's get started. As once again, it has been a week of news like a grindstone, sucking us all in and reducing us to a despairing pile of bloody rubble, if that's not too gross for you. But it's been once again, so much for the dog days of summer. It's just been a hellacious week for news. And why don't we start with the news that is probably the most damaging to the president? And that is, of course, the ongoing and impossible to put out fire of Jeffrey Epstein. The DOJ's second in command, I believe, former Todd Blanche, former personal lawyer to Donald Trump and acting as though he is still Donald Trump's personal lawyer, met in federal prison with Ghislaine Maxwell, the surviving partner of the deceased Jeffrey Epstein, his partner in child trafficking. And we don't know what they talked about, but the lawyers probably have some ideas. So does anybody want to kick us off with that? What do you think they talked about? How about you, Bill? You've handled cases like this that deal with like grooming of and sexual abuse of younger people. What's your take on this?
I hope none of the cases. I hope that what I'm about to say never happened in any of the cases I was involved in. Look, unfortunately, this conversation, I was a little surprised they announced it. This conversation seems to me to be all about the deal. You want a pardon or clemency or something, a reduction in sentence. Donnie's name's not going to be on any lists. He was never there. You know nothing. You see nothing. Some kind of deal was proposed.
That just seems so obvious to anybody that there was some kind of proffer made, and she's going to
actually that became public. They gave her. I used to call this queen for a day status. I wish Steve was here, or king for a day status. nothing that she said during this interview could be used against her. She got immunity for what she said during these interviews. The problem is we don't know exactly what she said. We don't know how much of it was true. We don't know whether it was recorded. We don't know a lot of things. But I would bet you a fair amount of money. I used to use my kids' trust funds as the bet because they were the most valuable asset I had. That they weren't recorded, that a deal was proposed, and what you'll see is some easing of her sentence or elimination of her sentence, and she'll testify about any Democrat that ever did anything and anybody who Trump doesn't like, but never.
I think that's pretty obvious too. In fact, it's so obvious it kind of is insulting to believe that there was anything else. I mean, why else would they be interested in talking about it?
Right. Transactional.
What other people have to say about this, but my last comment is, you said this thing that won't go away. I keep on hearing, oh, this is going to bring Trump down. Bullshit.
Right.
You know, the fact that this is Teflon Don.
Yeah.
It's not going to bring him down. He's managing it by creating all these diversions. Nothing about this. I mean, look, are we suggesting we didn't know that he was a sexual molester? Did he have a propensity for younger girls? He talked about his daughter in ways that should make most of us squirm. Right. There's nothing new here.
I have to agree. Allan.
I think, the thing should have been over a long time ago, but they are fueling conspiracy theories. I mean, I'm even to the point where I'm starting to think again, maybe, first there's no list, there is a list. The list is on my desk, there is no list. Then there's like, oh, we gave you the video, here it is. Oh, wait a minute from it. Oh, wait a minute. We have this video here, which is interesting about the whole case.
Latest analysis turns this entire story on its head, because remember how there was that video from outside Epstein's cell with the missing minutes in it? Well, forget that, because let's take a look at a still from the tape. Which do you think is Epstein's cell? Is it 1, 2, or 3? Have you locked in your answer? Great. You're wrong. Because Epstein's cell isn't even visible in the frame. It's up a staircase behind that wall. So we've all been focusing on the missing minutes when in fact there's a missing all of it. CBS News, our friends over at CBS News put up this helpful graphic. Epstein's cell is the red one in the lower right there. The only camera we have is footage covering a common area and just a tiny sliver of the staircase that led to the area outside of Epstein's cell upstairs. So it wasn't even the whole staircase. Anyone really skinny could have slipped past that camera. Okay, it just has to be a skinny person. So that narrows the lead suspect in Epstein's death to anyone on Ozempic. or as the scientists call it,
the fat shot drug.
Yeah, this usual classy way.
There we go. All right, welcome to the late arriving Steve Fishman. Steve, we're talking about the Epstein case, which I think you can probably figure out.
Okay.
Bill took your name in vain a couple minutes ago, but we're just
knows better.
We're just talking about the meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell between her and Todd Blanche. So if you have anything to say, or did anybody else have their finger up? Was that you, Joel? Did you have something to add?
Is that everything Trump does is transactional? This is obviously transactional. If all he has to do is give these MAGA people a little pretext, it's a lie that he's maybe tangentially involved, and they'll any excuse will do, or no excuse will do. Nobody's gonna. I don't think it's going to affect anything.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No. And the depravity continues.
Yeah.
I think Bill summed it up correctly. I mean, I don't even understand what they're doing, what this is all about, because again, You're not going to come out with anything condemning to Trump. So I really don't know why they're making this noise just to have no noise. Nothing.
Alan.
I'll just say real quick. I think what we're seeing here, that nothing, the base, nothing he does, whether it's violating the constitutional rights, whether, taking away Medicaid, whatever, it doesn't matter. But what we do see here is the line drawn is over, pedophilia or whatever is something the MAGA base can't deal with. And the idea that Trump might have been involved with that, I think it's nothing's fatal to this guy, but I think it's going to hurt him,
Well, I keep coming back to what do we know? Steve, go ahead. You always have something good to say.
Well, I don't know if you guys already said this, but if you remember when they first started talking about the grand jury, they wanted to release the grand jury.
Right.
And I said on this show, what you're going to get is you're going to get the testimony of an agent or two agents. As it turned out, reading in the paper yesterday, it was what I predicted. One agent who summarized everything. None of the witnesses were there. None of the young people were there. It was just the agent summarizing. So that was the first kind of bullshit thing. Well, we're going to get the grand jury testimony. The judge didn't allow it. And even if she did, it would have just been the agent reciting what other people said, not what regular people said. With respect to where it goes from here, I don't know what you guys said in those few minutes when I wasn't on, but it's hard for me to believe, although it sure smells this way, it is hard for me to believe that he's going to pardon or commute the sentence of somebody like this woman, because
Really? Okay.
these victims that are out there, and they're loud, a lot of them are loud, they're talking, they've got a lawyer coming with them. I don't know what the quote MAGA base will accept or won't accept, but if they'll accept, she's just as bad as him. That's what people have to understand. Yeah, she not just recruited, she participated in some of this crap too. She's as bad as he is. So it would be like pardoning or commuting the sentence of Jeffrey Epstein. And I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying about the base. I hear what Joel's saying. Maybe that's true, but I just think this is a little bit different. I really do.
Steve, are you suggesting that Trump wouldn't pardon her to make her be silent?
That's what he's suggesting.
I'm suggesting that the best that she could say for him, it seems to me, the only reason that they would mess with her is that she could say, "Oh no, he never had anything to do with anything. He was never around. I don't care about the pictures."
That's what I said. That's what I said was going to be the deal.
But that's the best that she can say, and in return for that, think about it. I mean, you talk about transactional. It's certainly transactional. But I have a hard time believing that everybody in his base is going to accept something like that. Okay, let's assume he wasn't. Okay, let's assume it happens to be true, even though it's not. Let's assume that he never was around. So what? How does that excuse pardoning someone who did what she did and was convicted, remember, by a jury? We're not talking about someone who made some kind of deal like Epstein did down in Florida. This is someone who went to trial. She was charged with fucking perjury, for God's sake. And now you expect people to take her word for something, A, and then B, excuse the fact of letting somebody like this going? Yeah, and I do like very much what You Don't Like My Music just said, because I thought this, I could not believe it when I saw it. I was in the gym and it said him talking like that. He robbed them of young people? I mean,
he stole them. Yeah, right.
Anyway, that's the way I look at it.
I think that, though, you also have to consider, Steve, that the fallback position is going to be that these young teens could have walked away at any point, but they didn't. It's going to be the old blame the woman card.
Seriously, you think they're going to say that?
First of all, we keep calling this a case of pedophilia. These girls were young teenagers. Okay, they were not children. They were not prepubescent. That's how Epstein liked them. He liked them, like little Lolitas, trembling on the edge of womanhood, right? And like most groomers, and I'm sure Bill can back me up on this, he looked for girls that were, that had absent fathers. They were from broken homes. They were poor. They needed the money. You hand a couple $100 bills to a 14-year-old girl, and she thinks it's all the money in the world. Right. And I think what you'll hear in these victims, you're right. They're grown up now, but the the bromosphere is going to come down on them. It's going to be, why did they keep coming back? Why did they do this? Why did they do that? And it's going to be just enough to provide cover fire for him. It's disgusting, but I think it's true. Barb.
If you listen to the testimony and all the stories of these girls, it's the same thing. It's over and over again. It's the same thing, is that they're there and they're partying, and all of a sudden the door slams behind them, and it got violent very quickly. Mm-hmm. And at that point, it's too late. You've got two full-grown men and little teeny girls.
Right.
And there was nothing to be done. And no one has ever accused many 15, 16-year-olds of good judgment. 13, 14, 15-year-old girls do not have good judgment. And they didn't deserve it. And no one has believed them. And no one we believe them, but they don't get believed now. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Alan.
But when we talk about partying, commuting and stuff like that, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, came out and said 20 years wasn't enough. He should have got basically life, that she should have gotten life. And so that puts him squarely, Trump, against people like Mike Johnson, who have sort of gone on the record now. So not that it matters.
But Alan, Jesus, listen, how many people after January 6th said, this is enough, we can't tolerate this, this is a challenge to democracy, and then they all bowed and kissed the ring and did exactly what Trump wanted.
Bullshit. Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to say, unfortunately. And Nancy, you're right. I've read some of the comments, along the way. And some of the people are blaming the young girls,
exactly.
You whatever. So I was appalled at the comments. And Steve, I partly agree with you. But I mean, when it comes down to what MAGA will accept, Trump has a way of spinning things. I have no doubt. If his back got against the wall, even to the speaker or anyone, he's going to spin it. They're going to back down because that bark has no bite. And then he will slam right out of it like he has with a lot of major issues. So for them to say, ooh, he's finally, they're going to be mad at him. No, he has a way of spinning it.
I tell you, I think the best comparison is to January 6th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably
everybody who would talk about it said that was unacceptable. And now, they were just visiting the Capitol. They were
around. It was a social call.
Patriotic.
All right.
But I'll say real quickly, as when like my music's mentioning Matt Gaetz, there was the line drawn. Look, of all the people, RFK got confirmed, all these other schmucks have gotten confirmed, but Matt Gaetz did not get confirmed because he was with underage girls. And so I think the MAGA thing that's the sort of the nut to crack there with them.
Only the boss gets to do that. So.
That's what we're talking about.
Epstein stole these female employees. He never stole a male employee. These young women. I agree with Steve that is a compelling admission in many ways. That's such projection. It's incredible to use that terminology. It shows that you were aware of what he was taking from you. You had probably good knowledge of what he was doing with the people the young girls he was taking from you. It really speaks a lot. It reflects his state of mind, his knowledge at the time. It's a hell of an admission. It's an interesting word to use to describe what happened.
Yeah. Well, I keep coming back to what are the facts? What do we know? Not the stuff that we're speculating or thinking might have happened, but what do we know about Trump and Epstein? They were friends. They partied together. They hung out together. Trump said, yes, he likes young women as much as I do. This birthday card that he did, and talking about the wonderful secret. We know that Trump is a germaphobe, and these girls, these young women, told stories that were very much very much a piece of that. They said that he didn't want me to touch him there without a glove on my hand. He didn't want a condom. He went, all this stuff. And I have to think that just what we know, what is facts on the record, it's pretty damning. But
how do you?
Can't tell the MAGA idiots anything.
How are you a germaphobe when you sleep with a porn star?
Well, that's the other thing. That's very true. And she said he never used a condom either. So
he's not shaking her hand.
Steve, go ahead.
There's two things. I don't like calling 14 and 15-year-old girls young women, and the law doesn't like it either.
No, I agree.
You can have voluntary sex, completely voluntary, with somebody under the age of 17, and it's rape in the state of Michigan and many other states. So they're girls, they're not young women. That's the first thing. The second thing, back to what we were talking about, not so much with respect to Trump, but this kind of a thing, if he pardons her or if he commutes her sentence, these people, the Mike Johnsons of the world who fancy themselves to be such wonderful folk who never do anything, they're going to have to go back like they are right now, and they're going to have their constituents. I'm not saying all of them. I'm not saying, like what Beverly said, there's some of these bros that say, oh yeah, the bitches, they should have just left, blah, blah, blah. But there are going to be a decent number of people, it seems to me, that are going to want to know, look, what are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You know, pedophile is the right word for it. They're young girls. Your boy just pardoned a pedophile, just commuted a sentence of a pedophile. So that's to me, those two things you got to keep in mind.
Steve, I hope you're right, but I fear that you could easily be wrong. All right. Let's move on. We had a shocking incident of violence in two cities, one of them in Michigan. I'm speaking, of course, of the attack by the clearly off of his gourd, mentally ill. I shouldn't say that. That's an insensitive term. He was a schizophrenic with paranoid delusions who stabbed 11 people in a Walmart in Traverse City. And then, of course, we had another mass shooting in New York City by a former high school football star who suspected that he had CTE, which is chronic traumatic encephal. I can't remember what it is. It's the brain injury that some pro football players have gotten from taking too many hits to the head. It resembles Alzheimer's in many ways, but it's also it can lead to violence and some other things. So I think the Traverse City story had a happy, I'm using that ironically, ending in that nobody was killed. Everyone is expected to recover. The assailant was disarmed by the proverbial good guy with a gun. But the other one, we have 4 people dead, and it's just, he walked into a Midtown office tower with an AR-15 like rifle at his side and opened fire. So other than saying, boy, that was a terrible thing that happened, does anybody have anything to say about that? Steve?
Well, it says a few things. The incident in Traverse City tells you that it's a lot better for some lunatic to have no gun than a gun. Because if that guy would have had a gun, I can't imagine how many people would have been killed.
Yes.
Especially if he had one of those AR-15 rifles or whatever. That's the first thing. The second thing, to me, the most ironic thing about that guy in Traverse City was the fact that the police were looking for him. They had reason to grab him, and they would have taken him to court. He'd have been locked up. But because he was homeless, they couldn't find him. And I read a column somewhere where these officers were, kind of beating themselves up about it. I mean, you do the best you can. The guy's homeless. It was just one of those things. The other thing, this business about the CT, when I first saw the headline, I thought this is some guy that played 5 years in the NFL or at least 4 years in college. The kid was a high school running back. He's about 5'7", 140. I'm sure he got hit a few times, but my guess is that he probably had a lot of other problems other than CTE. Yes. CTE, as we know from Junior Seau and Dave Durson, 2 all-pros who played for a long time in the NFL, who killed themselves and shot themselves in the chest and left messages they wanted their brains to be preserved for this whole CTE thing. CTE is real. And those of us who had sons, me for one, who was a pretty good athlete, he didn't play any tackle football. Basketball, flag football, that was fine. It's a very, very serious thing, and it is why I tell people all the time, if I have a son, I wouldn't let him play tackle football until his brain is pretty much grown, which would be high school. None of this 7-year-olds out playing tackle football.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I think mental illness often cleaves to things in the greater culture. People used to believe that an incubus or a succubus came into your room at night and had sex with you and, left you pregnant or whatever. Then it became suddenly aliens. Aliens abducted me and stuck a probe in my anus. It's clearly some sort of cloudy memory of child sexual abuse or some other sort of abuse. But CTE, I think, like you said, a high school running back, he probably did take a few hits, but I seriously doubt his brain took that kind of abuse. But if he's got a mental illness, he may have fixated on that. Bill.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, first of all, you got to agree with Steve. Anybody who disagrees with Steve, that one of the main issues here is guns and the gun culture that we have and the problem that creates just isn't paying attention. Putting that to the side, we have done just a terrible job of dealing with mental illness.
Yes.
And, the gun lobby says, oh, we got to deal with mental illness, and we don't deal with anything.
No.
In this state, John Engler closed all the mental health facilities. We have virtually no inpatient mental health facilities in this state to treat people, much less the homeless and the poor who end up in those situations oftentimes because of mental illness. So we can expect this problem to only grow, not to diminish, unless we as a society decide we are going to do something about it. We're going to do something about the guns, and we're going to do something about mental illness. But both of these stories, and this kind of touched home for us, Joni's nephew is engaged to a young woman who works with the NFL and was in that office building, had to take shelter, had to be snuck out.
Wow.
It was a very traumatic event for those people. But the fact of the matter is that we've got to anticipate that this is going to happen more often, not less often, if we don't provide services to these people. I mean, who are we kidding? And you just can't say, oh, he was mentally ill, it's too bad, and send prayers, hopes and prayers to the victim.
Or just say mental illness 1,000 times. So, no, you're right. Allan.
The interesting thing is when we go to Traverse City, I mean, here it is in New York, you've got this crazy guy walking the streets with a AR-15 or whatever, some type of assault weapon. And in Traverse City, though, the narrative is now, look what this guy, ex-Marine who had a gun, who saved the day from this guy creating more harm. And they're saying, this guy, the attacker had a knife, the hero had a gun. It's one of the rare moments where a person has a gun, a good guy has the gun at a crime scene like that. And so the narrative is now like,
everybody needs to carry a gun. Teachers need to have guns.
Yes, so it feeds into the, we've got the New York City thing, guns horrible. And we've got the Traverse City thing where guns are great. Guns protect us. Guns make us safe.
Yes, of course. It's always.
There's no situation that could be made better than Crossfire.
Yeah.
That's what we need is people just shooting at each other left and it's the fucking Wild West. Is what
they're not trained for the situation at all.
Especially in a place like a dark movie theater.
Joel's absolutely right. Not trained, trained, disasters waiting to happen.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just pretending they're in a movie. It's nuts.
Yeah, but and I should add, Bill, you're right. I mean, mental illness, the vast majority, and by that I mean like almost all of them, people with serious mental illness are not violent. This is something that just, sometimes it happens. It's just it's a paranoid thing. But the other thing I want to mention, though, is Caitlin Buss, Nolan Finley's understudy at the Detroit News, had a column today saying it's time to take mental health seriously. Okay. 2 weeks ago, she had a column saying the big beautiful bill is going to be a wonderful thing for us. Well, the big beautiful bill is going to close hospitals. It's going to close hospitals in rural areas where there's already practically no mental health treatment available. It's going, and then I hate to bring everything back to Tubby, but who just signed an executive order encouraging police to hospitalize against their will the homeless that are arrested or swept on some of these.
Well, there won't be enough room for that. That's absurd.
Right. It's like there are no beds for these people. There are no beds for the people who have decent insurance and of course nobody's insurance covers anything more than maybe 36 hours of they stick a drug in your arm. I mean, what happened in the early 80s was the worst dovetailing of the worst impulses of the left and the right. The people on the left were saying it's wrong to warehouse mentally ill people and keep them dozing and drooling on Thorazine. And the right said, these places are expensive. Let's shut them down and save some money. And overnight, and I mean, almost literally overnight, I was working in downtown Columbus at the time. These people began to just appear on the street, and they were pushing carts and they were talking to themselves and they were filthy. And it was traumatic. I mean, I just can't. Why did we do this? And how did the community mental health centers, which were supposed to fill the gap for these folks, never materialized? Or if they did materialize, they were underfunded. It never took into consideration. Joel, you're a psychologist. You've seen this before.
These community centers are. I had to intern at one for a year. And it was vital to the community. We had walk-ins constantly. I was full. I was working. I had at least 9 patients a day. We were going quick, and everybody was poor. Everybody was broke. And my guess is, once they stopped, they were already given. They could keep going. The rates were like $1, right? 50 cents, whatever the hell you could pay, you paid. Without those resources, you're right. People that need treatment never get it. People that can be diagnosed early never get diagnosed early. People that should be seeing a psychiatrist early to get some medication if they need some don't get it. And a lot of my former clients I know are dead or in jail.
Yeah, and a lot of these people, they don't like the side effects that their medication has, so they stop taking it.
Right. As soon as they
end up with better, so it just becomes this cycle.
But if they don't have somebody to talk to who makes them feel like somebody at least for 45 or 50 minutes a week. It's a big loss. That relationship that you have at that time could be the only relationship this kid that you're seeing has, the only person that you trust, only person you can talk to, the extent he can even articulate.
Right.
And to not have that availability is just tragic. It's unforgivable.
Allan.
As I say, when we think of mental health, we think of the guy in New York who walks in, or the guy who's stabbing and stuff like that. But we see it really, in the urban areas as well, where we're seeing like sociopathic behavior. We said, here's 2 kids. The kid on the left, 4 years old, was killed. Somebody on a bus took a guy's ski cap off or something. That guy drove with the friend over to a park, opened fire, killed the 4-year-old boy. Guy in the left, and then killed an 18-year-old, shot a 17-year-old, and then the one on the right was just, the other day a drive-by shoot or exchange of gunfire, and this kid's at home, and then the other day they had 2 kids in the bedroom, whereas 2 cars pulled up, 2 pickup trucks pulled up, and just guys got out and opened fire on the house. A 7-year-old and an 8-year-old were shot. They were thankfully not shot. They weren't killed, but one was shot in the arm, one in the foot. And it's like, that's not normal behavior. No. It's like people not having, they have mental health issues, and we ignore that. We only think of mental health issues as the crazy guy in New York and this and that.
It's a collective. It's how we are as a country. We're not mentally well. I mean, as a nation, we're not mentally healthy, and we all know that because I'm pretty sure we all feel that. We all feel the anxiety. We're going to all feel the lack of control, the chaos. That's what the nation feels. So the nation's having an anxiety disorder and a big part of depression and some other personality disorder that I haven't yet figured out.
And it's just getting worse. You're right. And Allan, you're absolutely right. So it's different levels of all of that. And it's like chaotic, every day, and nothing to deal with it at all. And then to Steve's point, you're absolutely right. Then you'll get it where family can't deal with it because this person's not taking their meds or whatever anxiety, parents, family put them out of the house. Some of them become homeless. And then how are the police, law enforcement able to track them?
Well, I want to make one other point about this and tie it back to the Traverse City thing. They were looking for this guy. He's homeless, right? I was not aware of this until I think last year when I traveled up north, but apparently Traverse City has had a tent city steps from downtown for some time now. That keeps, they clear it out, it pops up. And the reason is housing. It's like we have no place we tend to think of everybody who's homeless as being mentally ill. Well, not all of them are. Some of them are just really down on their luck, and they can't get into an apartment. Apartments cost a fortune. Nobody wants to build low-income housing. Who wants those people living next to us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, there's a progressive idea about treating homelessness that says, first thing, let's get them a home. Yes, granted, they have a whole constellation of problems, but let's first put them under a roof. Housing first is the shorthand for that. And I think that they're onto something there. Barb, and then let's go to a commercial, Allan.
Really expensive to be poor. It is really, really expensive to be poor. And I've helped for a long time a local saint that I know who feeds homeless and food insecure people down at Cass Park across from the Masonic for 15 years now. And all those apartment buildings around there used to be full of really, really poor people, but they had somewhere to go. And Olympia Entertainment and Illich Holdings bought all those buildings. They're still there, but they are empty. And those people had to go somewhere. Some of them we have no idea where some of these guys went. And it kills you when you have families come through there, and you have, and we give them twice a month. We give them hot meals. There's clothes, there's shoes, and all this stuff. But it's really, sometimes you go home and it's like, I know I did what I could, but this is a city with so many empty buildings. They aren't necessarily owned by the Illich family.
Another saint that I know just posted on his socials the other day. He calls them anthills, which are these empty houses in the middle of a neighborhood that might have 10, 15 people just crashing there, just because they can. Like you said, they have so many empty buildings. But anyway.
There's no water and there's no electric.
Yeah, people are shitting in buckets, and if you're lucky.
Then they go to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Allan, do we have a commercial?
Hello, Detroit. The municipal primary election is Tuesday, August 5th, and your vote matters more than ever. You've got 3 easy ways to vote. Vote by absentee ballot right from your home. And starting July 26th through August 3rd, you can vote early at any of our early vote centers. Or you can vote on Election Day, August 5th, at your polling location. Scan this QR code and visit us online to learn more. Let's show up, Detroit, loud, proud, and ready to vote.
Let's use that commercial as a segue into our next topic, which is, of course, Tuesday is the municipal election in the city of Detroit. And we're trying to get, a lot of people are working very hard to get turnout as high as we can get it, because it traditionally is pretty low. We had Ed Sarpolis on last week. Did we? I like so out of it. I don't remember if we talked about the governor's race. Did we talk about the mayoral race? Is it still Mary Duffel? It's still a race for second place? Second place.
The poll, Ed just put out a poll. Mary had 34%. Santiel Jenkins had 17%. Kinlock had 16%. Craig, who at some point had 20 or 25%, is down to like 6%. Todd Perkins, who's run a great campaign, but he's dealing with name recognition. He's down at 4%. Durhal is at 6%. So one of the interesting things was, it came out last week about Kinlock when he was 19 years old. It was 1993. He's 52 now, that he beat his first wife. And so there was debate whether he should deal with it or not. But on Sunday at the pulpit, he did address it, and we have a little bit of a video.
You got all of these people and nobody gonna say nothing. But when you do open your mouth, you want to go back and talk about something that happened more than 30 years ago when I was a 19, stupid, undeveloped, and immature young man. I ain't never said I was perfect, but I'm not the only one in this race that's imperfect. But I'm not playing dirty politics. And I'm not going back digging up stuff on them like they digging up stuff on me. I ain't never said I was perfect. That's why for the last almost 30 years that I've pastored this church, I'm a second chance. So I tried to give as many second chances as I could give.
What do you think, Beverly, being PR consultant, and was that a good thing, or did it matter?
No. I think it was good, of course. And individual I've been speaking with, even during this campaign, individuals was hoping that the mudslinging would stay out of it, and let's keep it focused on what your record is, what you can do, and what you plan to do. Do you have a plan? Can you lead? Do you have experience? So individuals I've been hearing is saying, yeah, we understand that it's not good, but he was 19 years old, and you got to look at what he's done now, similar to like a lot of other candidates. So that's what I've been hearing. Even individuals who say, I'm not supporting him for mayor, but I don't support, how the antics was and the mudslinging.
I'm in that camp with Beverly. I don't support Kinloch, but I oppose this. If you brought up my 18-year-old and 19-year-old behavior, it'd be funnier than Kinloch's. And
you know what you're doing now.
Well, we've seen
you're setting yourself up.
Beverly, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. Can I step in your shoes for a second, Nancy? Do you have a prediction? Oh, come on!
I told you that was a
do you have a prediction for the race? Who's going to win first and second place, Beverly?
Well, just the feel, not a prediction. And of course, we all know that of the two, and you never know, are absolute to be Mary. Just listening to individuals, and even last night there was a major gathering we went, and so while it's close to Science Hill and Kinloch. They're predicting Kinloch will come second, only because they're thinking, you look at boots on the ground. When you look at what's been happening the last 2 months, individuals who've seen individuals come to their house on a routine basis has been Mary's camp and Kinloch's camp, where they've been walking, sitting in people's living rooms, their backyards, all of that. So I don't know. So basically it's going to be a low turnout, which is unfortunate. That's the main unfortunate thing. So whoever get their voters and whoever the absentee has voted, but they kind of give him a little bit of the edge, only because him and his mass team has been going door to door for at least the last 2 months. And that's the only way. But of course, Tuesday we'll all know.
Hitting the doors. Did you say something?
He's been in a lot of backyards and a lot of living rooms.
And well, that's how Duggan won.
So. Yeah,
I've been impressed with Fred Durrell and what he's been doing. He's been in a lot of homes, a lot of living rooms. And I think the endorsement from the Chamber of Commerce, which was somewhat surprising, I think.
Well, he did good at the policy conference. I mean,
I think he's done good almost everywhere he's gone. I can't figure out why his numbers aren't higher. So
exactly. And then one last thing, Bill, another reason is, I know a lot of people say, his mass, his members in his church, and people want to say, well, most of them don't live in the city, but they also know at least one person in this city. And I think that when you look at, the mudslinging that's really made his base rally around him. And so what they're trying to do is everyone they know in the city to at least push him into number 2, but it is close. But that's what they're
it's an interesting phenomenon what mudslinging can do.
It can work for you and against you. So some of his people have gotten really intense because they're really mad at the mudslinging and they're really going to support him.
So is it clear who brought that up? Who brought it out?
Not clear. And I keep telling them Mike Allen didn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting how mudslinging can motivate a base around a candidate.
Yes.
If you watch the church service, I mean, people were standing up and cheering, and he was really getting. But he's got his base. They're not going to be dissuaded by something 30 years old. But there are people. I did talk to a Detroit voter, a woman who just said, "No way, he beat somebody then. I don't trust him." So it's really among the undecided.
It would have been ironic because I heard that the ex-wife, I don't know, this is a couple of people have said the ex-wife's relatives are members of his church. So I don't know.
Can we
let me tell you something. As a guy who has done more mock juries that I care to talk about because I paid for them, people who say that kind of stuff, who say no, he beat somebody, it's a predisposition toward this guy. and they're just looking to affirm
Exactly.
their attitude.
They're biased. Yeah.
You know,
They wasn't going to vote for him anyway.
Right.
And what was the nature of this beating? I mean, did he put hands on her? Did he slap her? Did he truly? What did he do?
They were in a Southfield apartment. He took a butcher knife, the handle, and he beat her with it, and he threw objects at her, and
that's bad.
she had a hard time walking after.
Oh, that's very bad. Okay.
It was a pretty violent. It was a pretty violent thing, and he pleaded to a lesser charge, but he did.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I wasn't totally familiar with everything, but apparently individuals said they knew of two things about him, that he never hid that. And he spoke about that through the years, through his ministry. He spoke about that, and he spoke about the issues with his sister and her drug problems and how he raised her children. So a lot of people who are familiar with him, I'm not, that they said they had already heard that, and he spoke about it over the years through his ministry.
Okay. Well, all right. There we go. Allan, did you go to the Jimmy Hoffa reveal?
I did not. I did a piece in Our Detroit Magazine, and to be honest, I mean, it was interesting. Scott had. I was surprised. He said he had.
Well, let's set this up real fast.
No,
Scott Bernstein and who else?
It was Scott Bernstein, Rick Convertino, a former prosecutor in the organized crime strike force, and Novi Toko, a former mobster.
Okay. These three, and Scott Bernstein is the only one I really know much about. He's a journalist who has made the Hoffa story basically his hobby horse for the last half century now, or close to it. I don't think he's been doing it for that long, but he's been covering there is not a Jimmy Hoffa story that does not quote Scott Bernstein. Yeah. Toko is, of course, associated with the mob family, and then we have the prosecutor. They put on a live event in Macomb, I believe, at the community college, yes, where they were going to reveal once and for all the fate of the corpus of Jimmy Hoffa and take it away from there.
Well, to be honest, I interviewed Scott for the Our Detroit Magazine piece in April. It appeared in July, but he told me then his theory on who killed. It was a guy, Palazzola, and basically Rick Convertino. The reason he had Rick was there. Rick had a wiretap. He was working on a case with Palazzolo, and Palazzolo supposedly on the wiretap says, "Yeah, I killed Hoffa," and so Scott had the whole scenario though. So he had already kind of put it out there, but a lot of people don't pay attention, and he got 500 people to come out there, and they had a whole presentation, and he may take the show to New Jersey and all that. He's got a website called The Gangster Report, which is really good. And Scott talks to these mob guys. He knows a lot of them. He's had lunch with them and stuff. So he speaks with some knowledge.
I would not impugn that. I just as somebody who's not from here, I find the decades-long fascination with what really happened to Jimmy Hoffa to be just fascinating. I mean, I'm more interested in the interest than I am in what actually happened to Jimmy Hoffa. I covered one of these where I was sent to write about it, I think also by Our Detroit. And it was the one in Midland where they dug up some horse barn and the people got a brand new barn out of it after they were, exactly. And there was a bakery that was selling chocolate cupcakes with green frosting, and then they had these like little zombie hands that stuck in there. So each one had a little plastic hand sticking out of it. It was hilarious. Exactly.
Sounds like my bar mitzvah cupcakes. Actually.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lack of respect in your attitude about this.
Okay.
But Nancy, I can't wait to see the home. I just saw a documentary on the individuals, the husband and wife who just bought us a home, and they're going to preserve it when they can and make some modernization of it. So it's interesting.
The Hoffa home?
Yes.
The Hoffa family home? Where was it?
Where outside of Pontiac.
In Pontiac? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
There we
go.
Yeah.
So, all right. Since we're all snickering now, before we go to our last segment, let's pivot to the Bill. This is your turn to shine. Rocky Peanut is finally thrown
That
in the
ain't
towel
so.
and closing at Eastern Market and closing in, they're saying October. And this is a move that has been obvious to anybody who's stuck their head in Rocky Peanut for the last several months.
Yeah.
Because they lost a couple of key employees who immediately went into business competing with them elsewhere in the market. That was the twins, the brothers. And Rocky's been spiraling ever since. But, you know, for those of us who remember it in its glory days when you could get your roasted almonds and your sour cherry balls and your coffee and your spices all under one roof, it's I guess we'll be sad about that. Bill, are you a Rockies guy?
I am.
Really?
And have been was for a long, long time. I mean, I haven't been down there much recently, but it's like much of Eastern Market. You know, it's a great place, and people who've been down there have great memories. But so much of it has changed. I mean, the guys who've gone in and bought up much of the place, and I don't want to name names, but
we know who you're talking about.
Donda.
Did I say that? And I think destroyed much of the flavor of it.
Yeah.
I think that's too bad, but it still maintains, in my opinion, much of the flavor of what Eastern Market's about. You still go down there on an early Saturday morning, packed. I'm surprised by how often I say, "Oh, I was down at Eastern Market on Saturday," and people say, "Well, so was I. How come I didn't see you?" Are you kidding? With all those people down there, I'm surprised any of us made it.
Exactly.
So,
Allan.
I was going there for decades and decades, but I'd say the last several years, it didn't have the same. It was already losing there wasn't the same level of product.
Are you talking about Rocky or the market in general?
Yeah,
okay.
Rocky Peanut.
Which is different from the rest of the market. I mean,
you could feel it slowly declining, and so I guess it wasn't a shock by the time. It just felt more empty when you went in. It just didn't seem to have all the same products it used to have, and just.
Well, if you go down to Ryapel Street, Twin Spice and Nuts, which is run by the identical twins who kind of kept Rocky Peanut going. I don't even know their names. I know their faces, both of them. And you always say, "Which one are you?" And he goes, "I'm the other one." But anyway, they're identical twins, and they are truly identical. They're really hard to tell apart. They have their own shop now. It's called Twin Spice and Nut, and that's pretty much what they do, although they have some candy. But I'll tell you, going into Rocky Peanut when I was hungry, that was always a bad idea because I would come out with like $30 worth of almonds and inevitably their peanut brittle. And I would start, it's like, oh, I think I'll just have a little nibble on my way home, and then
addictive.
Yeah, and then exactly.
My father introduced me to Rockies back in the 70s because that's where my mother would send him to get spice for the Middle Eastern.
Yeah, they have every kind of spice you can.
They do.
And,
the best roasted peanuts,
Yeah, and just for
the haven't in a long time. I go on Tuesdays because the Tuesday market is great. There's one of the things are open and you can get all the fresh vegetables, but then you get the rest of it to yourself, and it's nice because you can go to DeVry, without falling over yourself. But there's no point in going to Rocky Peanut.
Yeah,
they never had anything I needed. Yeah. And I don't eat candy, so I didn't last long. So
I wish I could say that about myself. All right, Allan, let's go to the last segment.
Downtown Detroit, Robert Wells, Schmuck of the Week.
Okay, as usual, no shortage. What's your...
Again, there are so many, but I'm going with Nancy Mace.
What
did Nancy do? She said she likes to unwind watching the videos of immigrants being arrested.
Unwind?
That woman is completely crazy.
This is a miracle. This is really true. I also, before you do that, I have a request from Allan, who makes these lovely videos. I want a super cut of Marco Rubio when in a video when you can see his soul leave. Over and over again. He's
and we
been
can
about
play the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme around, underneath it. So
and they'll ask him a question and he just kind of goes, and then he's horrible that he doesn't even believe anymore. But that's my request for you for the next couple. I won't be here next week, but I need that. But yeah, Nancy Mace, who likes to unwind watching ICE arrest videos. That's my schmuck.
She is literally as crazy as a shithouse rat. I don't care what anybody says. So excuse my language. Beverly.
Yes. I will make it quick. I had a couple of them today, but I'm just going to focus on one. And Allan kind of touched on it. And if I could say another word on here, I would, beyond Schmuck, because I think Schmuck is just too good for them. Individuals who unfortunately are shooting and killing our babies here. The shootings. And so, are you that evil? Are you that broken that you're just driving up and down the street and just shooting random? Because when you hit someone, especially people who've lost their children, even this week, that's forever. That's forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really, really sad. And then, we'll go. I don't want us to get really desensitized by it because it's happening so much. A couple weeks go by, desensitized. But this is a serious problem. So they are my schmucks, especially the ones they haven't captured yet. Because you're just randomly shooting up down the street, somebody touch your cap, or whatever the issue is. Are you that sick and evil? Because when you shoot somebody, these kids who are dying, especially the latest one who got shot in the head, waiting on his dad to come home, that's final. That's forever. So they're my schmucks of the week.
Good for you. So okay, Joel.
I'm going to go with. I think this is made up outrage that the right made up about the left. Sydney Sweeney, who's the Hollywood it girl now. She's in everything. Beautiful,
very beautiful
young
girl.
woman.
Yeah.
Was at the big wedding with the Bezos, what have you. She did an ad where she's wearing jeans, and the ad is that Sydney Sweeney has good genes. And apparently the left, which I don't believe, went nuts because of eugenics. Oh, she's, not talking about genetic superiority. It's like, she's got great fucking genes. I mean,
she's
whatever the metaphor is.
And yes, exactly.
I don't see the offense. I wish I had better genes. I will admit I'm genetically deficient. I'm 5'8", I got a huge head. Listen, I'm not in any way upset with that. Steve was gifted athletically and he played college ball. I would kill for that. But that's not me. So the full outrage, I refuse to believe it's from the left. I think it's the right that's making something up about the left to make people go nuts, and it's a non-issue, but it drove me, those are the schmucks.
There's a phrase that's used by two always online people like me. It's called nut picking. And it's when you go and you find the one person who's on your opposite side who is upset by this, and then you just assume that, and then you just broadcast that everyone on the left is upset.
Right. It's
called nut picking, and and Sydney Sweeney, she does have great genes. She's beautiful.
LeBron's got great genes. What is what is going on here?
Her own grandfather said she has the greatest tits in Hollywood. So
he is right. Okay. What a weird thing for a grandfather to say.
I'm not sure. Probably Donald Trump. No, but she really is. She's
she was enjoying a babysit. What?
What?
Okay. Anyway. I didn't mean anything by that other than she was enjoying a babysit.
Yeah. There you go. Steve.
Before I give you my schmuck of the week, I have no idea who that person is. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I've never heard her name before, and I've obviously never seen her, or maybe I'd have the same.
She was not in Purple Rain. Sorry.
No.
Yeah,
not born.
After Purple Rain, I don't know it. That's for sure. My schmuck of the week. It just so happens that we actually mentioned him earlier. My schmuck of the week is John Engler for the reasons that everybody said. He started this stuff in the 80s. I mean, Bill and I remember it like it was yesterday. Lafayette Clinic was closed. Eloise was closed. And the next thing you knew, there were people all over the streets. And what do people think when they see people all over the streets? Oh, they must be screwed up. They're this, they're that, and the other thing. So Engler trying to save money, right? Save money to dish out to rich people. But he's my schmuck of the week for what we've seen about people who really needed mental health care. And now they're out there stabbing people in Traverse City and shooting people in New York. So John Engler, you win.
Steve,
Yeah.
how many homeless people did you get to know in Detroit? Like, Willie Mayer, Willie would walk around. There would be certain homeless people that were fixtures downtown that should be in institutions that you got to know. You'd give $5 to the guy every time or more every time you saw him. You buy him a meal. That was the tragedy of it. That people that you saw that you no longer see. I don't know what happened to anybody, but they were fixtures downtown. You knew they were sick. You knew they were in need, and you treated them with dignity. I don't. Those guys that I used to see, I don't see.
Yeah. No.
By the way, there's a news flash that says from the New York Sun says Ghislaine Maxwell is moved to minimum security prison in Texas after meeting with Justice Department.
Surprise, surprise.
Wow.
Minimum security. I tell you, there's gambling in this establishment.
Better headline: Pimp moves to Texas.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly. All right, Bill.
Yeah.
Let me toss this out here, by the way. Again, we don't know where all this is going. That would have been something that conceivably you could make a deal about. I'm going to sit down with you, but I got to get out of this maximum security play because the differences in federal prisons are huge. They're huge differences. So, I mean, if this is the end of it, that I could imagine, but it sounds like maybe it's not the end of it, and then we'll find out.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I think it's an act of good faith on the Trump administration saying, here, we'll do this for you now. So we want to show you that we're sincere about helping you out.
So with a name like Seikaly, I don't like to mispronounce names, but I need help with the head of the EPA, Amana Nawans? His name right?
Don't know.
The entire EPA, but especially the head of it, who decided to change the finding that carbon emissions cause climate pollution. And therefore, we're not going to be able to regulate the internal combustion engines. We're not going to be able to do anything to try and deal with climate policy. The most cynical, absurd reversal of a finding I have seen, though they compete with Robert Kennedy Jr. on the stupidity that he's doing to destroy the health of America. The EPA this week are my schmucks of the weeks.
Well, they really are. That's yeah.
And our vaccination rates are at their lowest they've ever been in like forever. I just
and they're going to keep dropping.
The measles are back. Yay! Everybody
measles are back.
Polio vaccinations, not getting anything. Whooping off. I mean, it's like
I'm betting on smallpox for 2026.
It's just fine. Right. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Right.
Crazy.
Okay, Allan.
I'm going to say this guy right here.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is reportedly considering running for governor of Tennessee because although Hegseth is from Minnesota, most of his liver is from Tennessee.
There's a guy who's a disgrace in the position he's at, who wants the governorship. They've told him basically at the White House, stop giving polygraph tests to everybody. He's paranoid about leaks and stuff like that. I mean, he's just a horrible choice. And now it's like, okay, Tennessee, here I come to save you.
He's looking for an exit that will allow him to save face.
I agree with Nancy. I
think there's a boot in his ass, and somebody's saying, it's time for you to spend more time with your family, and that's how he's doing.
And he'll be close to bourbon, so
and
there you go.
Exactly, the birthplace of bourbon. So good one. So all right, mine. And again, I'm breaking the Craig Folly rule, but I have to give it to our obese elderly president who this week signed an executive order to bring back the presidential physical fitness test for school children. Okay. And all I can really say about it is what a friend of mine said about it on Blue Sky, where he said, "You first, Tubby," because the president's physical fitness test has children, and I don't know, like at what age they're expected to do this. 40 push-ups, 10 pull-ups, and a 6.5-minute mile. So I was just going to say that it will never happen. But the
anybody remember when they did it?
Pardon me?
Anybody in?
I didn't get that in school. I don't think.
I failed. I couldn't climb up the rope.
Oh, the rope was
I couldn't do the rope. I never got my. I never got
the rope.
I was the only kid. I was the only kid in my class in. I think it was 8th grade, but it might have been 8th grade, who did the 6.5 minute mile.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I did a 6:01.
Genetically gifted. That's incredible.
10 pull-ups though? God, I
Right,
can't do one. Steve,
incredible.
you had your finger up. What were you going to say?
I was just going to ask. I didn't see that as the standard 6.5 minute mile for a kid. I mean, I can tell you, at the University of Michigan on the basketball team, we had to run under 6 minute mile before we started practice, and that's as college athletes.
Yeah,
I have a hard time thinking there's very, very many. If Bill did it, great, but ain't too many 7th graders that can run a 6.5 minute mile.
Yeah, I don't know at what point.
I think it was in 8th grade, and in high school, I used to be able to run 3 or 4 6-minute miles back to back, but that was my sport, and nobody else in my school could do it. I mean, and most people thought, rightfully, that I was crazy.
Yeah.
In 9th grade, I could have done it if the destination was Burger King.
Well, I noticed that they dragged out Croaky to sell this at the press conference, because this was originally instituted under President Kennedy.
Do you have a shirt on?
Yeah. But, it's like, and it's funny because to me, one thing I've learned, I'm 67 years old. I could stand to lose about 12 to 15 pounds. But I think I'm in reasonably good shape for a person. I mean, I work out 6 days a week. And one thing I've learned in that time is if you really want to be physically fit, you don't just do it in the gym. You make it a part of your life. You take the stairs instead of the elevator. You walk instead of drive. You ride your bike. And who are the people who are screaming about bike lanes, so that kids can ride safely to school? Who are the people that resist every infrastructure change that could make?
Right.
They confuse me. Bike lanes. I'm worried I'm going to hit somebody all the time.
Don't drive
Me too.
Well, then don't drive in them.
I hate them.
I hate
Rule
it.
number
I
one,
cannot
don't drive in the
negotiate.
bike lane.
I'm scared.
I don't like them on the narrow streets. Some of the streets in Detroit.
Don't like the bike.
I'm
Well,
confused.
I like it.
confused.
I'm a cyclist.
I love it all.
Alan,
Everyone's
I'm
gotta slow
confused.
down.
I'm confused about the bike lane when, like, you're on Trumbull and Grand River, somewhere, and there's a bike lane. And do you go into the bike lane when you make the right-hand turn, or do you make
You
it
got to.
from
well,
your,
what you have to
from your
do is
lane?
you have to look in your outside mirror and make sure there's nobody coming. Okay.
Exactly.
And then
Right.
you cross it.
Good advice.
I mean, they're imperfect. I'll give you that. I mean, we're trying to retrofit roads that are built for cars to accommodate
Exactly.
bicycles. But as a cyclist, I can never say a discouraging word.
But they are needed. No, I agree. They are needed.
Okay.
Just for the record, I like the roundabout, just so I can get there.
Okay.
I like the roundabout. I'm enjoying those immensely. So
You mean the
just for-
song or?
Yeah, we
All
love the
right, guys.
roundabout. Nice and nice.
Okay, you have endured yet another edition of the Week That Was from Deadline Detroit, and today populated by 6 or 7 boomers. But we're still fighting. I'd like to thank our distinguished panel, of course. Thanks, Barb. Thanks, Beverly. Thanks, Joel. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Bill. And as always, the last word goes to
Drive home safely.
Whoa.